Thank the Force. We're back Thursday night to talk about my good friend Jod Nawood because we have unnecessary names in Star Wars, and I cannot wait to talk about little Stinky there on the bottom left if you're watching live on YouTube because we got a full night of Star Wars ahead here on Star Wars SWNN Live. My name is Tyler, joined tonight by the skeleton crew, I guess, of our own Star Wars SWNN team, Luke and Mr. Nate returning. Nate, I was, as I told you before we hopped on, disappointed that there wasn't a third nubs that we could fit into your screen today because you had two, last week. We still have the two, but we know now that there is a third nub.
The third, maybe a fourth floating around here somewhere. I got a lot of space I got to dig through.
How are we doing this evening? Are we ready to talk? We have like a lot of things to talk about this evening in Star Wars. It's just gonna be a nice, refreshing Thursday evening. Luke, we're doing timeline show again this Saturday. Again, I say like that we haven't been doing that every week, but we are back on Young Jedi Adventures. Are you excited to go back into the fold of our friends Kai, Les, and Nubs?
Honestly, I am. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun getting back into it. I miss those little kids. That'll be great.
I know. I was so annoyed with them after a while because we had watched that whole season every single week in a way that it was endearing. I love them, but I was getting a little tired of talking about them. But now I'm ready to talk about them again. So stay tuned this weekend on Saturday or Sunday. We'll get the timeline show out there depending on Luke and I's schedules. And we're going to be talking about the first couple episodes of Young Jedi Adventures Season 2. We're going to go through that for a little bit. And then we'll see where we're at after that. I'm excited. We're going to be talking with Kevin Stott in a couple months. I can't wait. Nate, we're going to be recruiting you here soon because Luke and I are doing like a publishing panel at MegaCon Orlando. And so I'm going to be recruiting you to see if you want to update the comic book manifesto before then, so we can make sure to share that with people that we are talking with, since you created basically the golden goose of comic book manifestos for Star Wars.
Yeah, you guys just let me know what you need updated. Right now it's pretty complete. By February, I don't quite know what will be essential reading from Marvel because we don't really know what's going on after this current Battle of Jakku arc in this era. So
Nate Manning, more like Nemec Manning. Get that manifesto out.
I don't know what I need to add to the manifesto. I do not know what I need to add to the manifesto because Marvel's playing coy on what they have in the pipeline. So,
given we got a couple months, I'm sure that they'll do something before the 2 months. We'll have something. But I'm excited for that. So, we got 3 things to discuss this evening, and I would say one is going to be completely positive, one's going to be unhinged, and one is going to be a little bit frustrating maybe to discuss. Which one do we want to discuss first? One would be Skeleton Crew, of course, but there's 2 other things, of course. One is Rotta the Hutt, and a third, which you may not be aware of, that we're going to talk about this evening.
Let's go unhinged, upsetting, and then happy.
Okay. Nate, are you okay with that order?
Sure. I don't know where we're going with this, but
so unhinged is the fact that Jeremy Allen White is supposedly voicing Rotta the Hutt, Jabba the Hutt's son, we were introduced to in the Clone Wars, animated Clone Wars movie. Supposedly, he is voicing Rotta the Hutt for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I didn't believe it at first, but it's Snyder, and he says it on, Christian Harloff's show. He put it in his newsletter. And this guy, he's usually the one that's on top of the Star Wars scoops. So if he says it, it really makes me believe that this is real. On the flip side, and tell me what you guys think about this. On the flip side, I felt like if this felt like the perfect random thing for them to throw out just to see if there are any leakers on set or people involved in the process. Like, we're going to throw Rotta the Hutt out there. And if there is someone, maybe we have our eye on as a leak, then we'll see. We'll know if Rotta the Hutt starts making the airwaves soon. But I kind of lean towards Dave Filoni going up to Jon Favreau saying, hey, you want to get nuts? Like, let's get nuts. And we're going to really just dive in.
Type of casting for sure. Yeah, I feel like this is real and it's amazing.
we think it's real. Luke, are you in on the Road to the Hut? We will be seeing Road to the Hut. You're buying it?
Casting, but it's a Filoni kind of pull. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's of course Filoni's going to pull some random character. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this because I never would have wanted to see what happened to this character. But hey, we're here. We're
Only
locked.
your wildest fever dream.
The rug pull could be that Jeremy Allen White is doing the voice of Rhoda, and it's unrecognizable that we can't even tell it's him. But then they have a secret casting for the character elsewhere where we can obviously tell it's him because we can see his face and all that stuff. So I think
Okay.
so maybe the rug pull is he's playing two characters. I don't know.
Ooh. He's voicing Road to the Hut, and then he plays the bounty hunter that kills Road to the Hut. He just opts his own character.
Oh my gosh.
That would be insane. So Luke said how he never would have thought or this character. So I can confirm that Luke never would have thought this because I called Luke as soon as I saw the information, hoping that he would not have seen it yet. And I said, okay, have you seen the latest Star Wars announcement for Mando and Grogu movie? And he said, no, I haven't. Like, what's going on? And I basically gave him a few hints, or like I tried to talk him into like what character from Clone Wars is going to be in this movie. And he was like, I have no idea. He guessed a few characters. And then I said, it's going to be Rhoda the Hutt. And I just remember all he said was, what? What? And it was hilarious. I was dying.
Just more incredulous as time went on. I was like, is it WAG 2? Is it Meeber Gets Gone? I'm like trying to pull these deep pulls that I know are not going to be it because you told me it's not a human. And I
was like, it's not a human. It's not a droid. And it's definitely kind of one you have not thought about in a long time. So
yeah, perfect.
I love how you said Meeber first. But so I want to know, what is our most unhinged Rhoda the Hutt theory for the Mando and Grogu movie? We're a year and a half out from Mando and Grogu. We don't even have like an official trailer yet open to the public outside of the little snippet we saw at D23 on, a Brave Soul's phone that they released. What is our most unhinged Rhoda the Hutt theory? Like, we're talking, you put on the tinfoil hat and you just really gotten to, down in the depths on this one.
Okay, well, unhinged is fans really received the Jedi working with the Hutts well in the High Republic comics. That was huge. And so now they're going to be like, okay, maybe people kind of like the Hutts as the good guys. So Rotta is going to befriend Mando and Grogu, and he's going to be an ally to them in this story. He's going to have some kind of pull. He's going to have some kind of forces of his own that he's going to join up with, and they're together going to defeat an Imperial warlord. So
the twist will be that the Hutts will be on the good side, basically, and we're gonna have like Rhoda the Hutt marching into battle, or slithering his way into battle, slithering his way into battle with Grogu. Maybe Grogu's like riding on his shoulder.
I think so. I think that's where we're going.
Nate, do we have an unhinged idea?
Not really. The ones that are going around, and I made a very quick meme and posted on socials. In the canon comics, there are, and Bespin Bulletin actually has a report that says that Rhoda is going to be buff in the movie.
Oh yeah,
which lines up with what some of the canon readers and the comic readers might remember, some buff gigantic Hutts that just steal the show and are the most intimidating mofos in the room. And I think that's what's going to happen, but I also think he might die in about 30 seconds. I don't know how, but I think it's just going to be a really quick cameo that it's just a one and done nod to the fans. just that remember this guy. And because
Well, the idea of a buff
let's
Hutt.
be real. Let's be real. Who do we honestly want to see a Rhoda redemption story?
Redemption
story. Let's
redemption. Does he need what does he need to have redeemed?
I don't know. Like, but why do we want him to be a main character in another movie?
I don't think it's we want him to be the main character in another movie as much as I am perfectly like fine if we get some random side quest at the beginning of the movie that has him on screen for like 3 minutes, but it feels like longer than 3 minutes because
he ends up as like a mechanic on the Razor Crest in the background of the whole movie. That's just the comic relief. That could be fun. Like him and Zeb could play off each other for a couple scenes. That could be really fun. But I don't know if I need more than that, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So I don't necessarily know we're going to see a whole lot of them. So that's kind of my theory, but
I don't think you needed Rotta the Hutt in the movie at all, but you're getting him. So why not? Why don't we just keep getting a little bit more?
We don't.
I didn't
think I needed Andor, and then guess what? That turned out to be amazing.
The fact that the top news this week has made us all remember the goddamn Clone Wars movie. Fuck.
This is our backdoor pilot. Okay, we're gonna have Rotta the Hutt. He's gonna have his
he's
cousin,
the one that Churro
the Hutt. Churro the Hutt's gonna be there too, and they're gonna be like, Churro the Hutt. What's his backstory?
And you want to know what's even crazier? Because the Clone Wars movie, as awful as it is, sorry, I hate to bring it up so nonchalantly like this, but I'd still watch it again over goddamn Kraven the Hunter, which I saw today, and sorry, that movie fucking sucks ass. I'm sorry.
What the hell?
I
just going off today.
Well, there's your endorsement for watching the Clone Wars movie.
Hold on, though. You actively went into Kraven the Hunter, but like, did you not expect it to be garbage? Like, were you going in thinking you were about to watch some cinema?
All right. So, obviously, I went to go see Kraven the Hunter today. I didn't enjoy it, but I go in. I'm like you, Tyler. I go in, and you, Luke. I go in wanting to see and with the most positive attitude possible. I just wanted some fun R-rated schlop. Just shovel me schlop, and the schlop I was given.
Hashtag shovel me schlop.
Like, I don't know what are we doing here, Hollywood? What the hell is Kraven the Hunter? God,
I wonder what's the budget on Kraven the Hunter.
I have no idea.
$2?
I have no idea.
So
I hope for the studio's sake it wasn't more than 100 million, because it's not seeing.
I hope it was 200 million. I hope it was. So
I gotta do a Google here. Kraven.
Have you ever, Luke? Have you ever gone to a movie expecting it to be like garbage?
$110 million. Jesus.
I can answer your question. I've never, to be a little bit in the semantics, I've never gone to a movie that I was expecting it to be bad. Have I been at home and turned on a movie that I'm like, this isn't going to be good, but I'm at home, might as well? Yeah, sure. But I've never really like paid money to go see something that I was like, this probably isn't going to be good. It honestly takes a lot to get me to the movies. There's a lot of movies that come and go that I wish I would go see but don't make time for. So I definitely am not going to the movies and seeing movies that are not worth my time.
I am such an easy person to please. I'm such an easy person to please. But man,
Craven
but even the things that I was excited to see weren't even good.
So
I couldn't get the basics right. R-rated action should be at least mildly entertaining. It's like, God, it cut away so quickly from the gore and the kills. It's like, God, what are we doing? And that's the least of the movie's problem. That's the least of the movie's problems.
I can honestly say I was not expecting Kraven the Hunter to be something that we discussed this evening.
I had to shoehorn Kraven in somewhere, and that was the most logical place. I would rather watch the Clone Wars movie again over Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, I watch the
there.
Clone Wars movie on a yearly basis. It's an
What is
annual
wrong
tradition.
with you? The Clone Wars movie is
Hey, that is where we are introduced to my favorite character of all time, Ahsoka Tano. So I will make it happen. And there are some juicy moments in there. I will argue for the Clone Wars movie any day of the week. I'll argue for the Clone Wars movie. That I think I'll say this: the Clone Wars movie is better than being served schlop. It's a little bit better than schlop. I'll give
you're
it
not
that.
wrong. You're not wrong. At least it doesn't have lines like "My grandma died and I never saw her again."
That's like in Survivor last night. This person that keeps tweeting the little clip every time someone gets voted out. "Oh, they would have won if they hadn't have lost." That's one of those things. My grandmother died, so I never saw her again.
At least it
That's
doesn't
good.
have At least it doesn't have Aaron Taylor Johnson, one of the world's finest actors, saying about 45 times, "I'm a hunter. I'm a hunter. Let's go hunt. We're going on a hunt. I'm a hunter." I swear to God, that's the only thing he says in the movie.
Man,
Other than "You suck, Dad. I hate you."
So Warwick Davis made some headlines. Just to shift a little bit. We're already in the negative, so let's just go ahead and get our negative out of the way. I just thought this was interesting to talk about. This isn't Star Wars related necessarily, but it is about, Warwick Davis obviously has a lot of history in the Star Wars franchise, and he was publicly saying how he's disappointed that the Disney, executives are prioritizing shareholders or more than the subscribers that are on there. And he talked about this is kind of crazy to me too, that he said he's only been able to see each episode of Willow once, and he was talking about Willow being taken completely off the platform, it's gone and everything. And this is one of the stars of the show only being able to see each episode one time, which in the way I would view that is all of the other creatives that were a part of this, people that poured their heart and souls into this, the actors involved, everyone from the actors involved to the people who were doing sound, visual effects, everything, only got to see these episodes one time if they watched it the week it came out. But there's probably several of them that were like, I don't want to watch it when it comes out. I want to wait, let this, sit for a while. They don't want to be in that weekly sphere, that may have never gotten to see their work and may never get to see, the final product of their work, see the light of day. And that made me just reflect on the state of the industry a little bit, and what that means and how disappointing that is for all of those people involved. But I thought it was at least interesting to talk about in terms of Star Wars, because obviously I don't expect Lucasfilm to go and just completely take something off of the, Disney Plus for Star Wars, because they're not going to, I think they hold the timeline and the sanctity of the franchise a little bit dearer than that. But I'm curious, do you guys think that's something we ever have to be worried about with Star Wars? Is there ever a point where something comes out, maybe it doesn't do well at all, and they say, we know what, we're going to just completely scratch this, bring it out? The Acolyte, I think, was something that could have constituted that, I guess, if it was ever going to happen to Star Wars. But I wonder, could that be the tip of the iceberg for something down the pipeline in the future, since they've already said we're willing to scrap on a project like Willow after it basically just came out?
I'd say it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, they set the precedent with Willow, so there's nothing that says they couldn't do it to a show like The Acolyte, or hell, as much as we're loving it right now, Skeleton Crew. I mean, we don't know what the viewership is for Skeleton Crew right now. Even though it's being very positively received, like if it doesn't get the viewership, Disney is it has the right to cancel shows. Does it have the right to erase it off the planet? I guess they do, as much as that sucks. But yeah, it's definitely a complex situation that I don't know all the ins and outs of. It sucks for everyone involved with Willow. It sucks for the industry as a whole that we have to worry about this, because it's not just Willow. mean, Warner Brothers has done it with some of its stuff too, some other studios too. So it's definitely a concern as the industry develops in the streaming age.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it stops. I mean, hopefully enough voices speak out like Warwick Davis, because he's a prominent person, and hopefully some big names step up to the plate and talk these executives into something down a different path, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not a path that is sustainable in my eyes. But
Mm-hmm.
if it helps their bottom line, I mean, it's going to help their bottom line. At the end of the day, that's all they care about.
Right. That's where we are. Luke, what are your thoughts on this?
I am very much of the sentiment of Nate. It's ridiculous. It feels anti-art to like make something and then say, well, I didn't like how little money it made, or some kind of
Mm-hmm.
statistical thing that I didn't love about it, so I'm taking it off. It just, like, kind of with the Acolyte too, like, you're not even giving it a chance to sit out there for a year or two and
Right.
see what kind of fan base
Especially
can
when there's
accumulate to
zero
it.
transparency with any of this stuff. They just
Yeah.
do it.
So it's just extremely frustrating as someone who hasn't watched Willow, and I'm like, it's on my
Yep,
plate. Like, I want to get there.
I
I
didn't
wish
see
I
it.
could
I
have.
wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have watched it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
It's
think I
frustrating
could.
because it doesn't feel like there's time for new fans to join new projects. If
No.
there's something new and you don't jump in on it right away, well, it might not be there tomorrow, and because of that. And I think it gets to the point where the conversation's going to start shifting, and we're gonna, when it comes to like AI and AI being involved
Oh,
with
goodness.
scripts and creating shows and doing writing essentially as well. And the strikes were, AI was a big part of like the strikes, and we're going to keep fighting. There's going to be this battle that keeps being fought, to where I'm wondering, what's the conversation shift away where, Luke, you said this is anti-art, that's just wiping away the slate on a show, completely erasing it. It's anti-art. But these executives and these studios, they don't view it as art. They're like, we are just generating content for people to consume, versus we are creating some, art and some sort of, manifestation of the human experience and human imagination. All they care about, like Nate says, is the bottom line. And there's always been that aspect, is always they want to make money. And how are they going to make money? And if they can save money from doing this, you know what? They probably will. But I just wonder how long until we shift in our culture to where, what? The main consumer base is all about just feed me content, and I'm going to take content, versus I want to experience something that is, genuinely imaginative from another, human being. And I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be, what do you say? Like, I don't know if when what the line is, where if there's enough people that stand up and like put a stop to this, or if it's just going to keep on getting worse as, time goes on. It's definitely something to monitor.
Yeah, I want to be optimistic, but it feels like the longer I've been paying attention to the world, the more greed and CEOs and people at the top seem to just take the wrong lessons from things and take the cash grab. And I don't feel great about the people in charge being in charge. So I am worried.
Nate bringing up the lack of transparency with all of this is something, because we get the Nielsen like streaming numbers and everything, but we don't really know
such a small.
what.
That's such a, because there's so many metrics that we have
Mm-hmm.
no idea.
No idea.
Because even Nielsen is such a finite metric. Like like even that's not necessarily a good thing, a good way
and
to
that's the
measure
only
the
thing we really
popularity of a
have.
show. And it's like,
Other than what the studios release, which a lot of times is skewed to push their own agenda of like, look how many people are watching.
I mean,
even
with the Acolyte, the very first thing they said, and like, oh, it got what, 10 million in 4 days or whatever. The biggest premiere of 2024 and they puppeted that. And
Mhm.
us as the media, we did the same thing, so we parroted that too. But when you look back at it, it's like, what else is there in 2024? So it's like
Mhm. Well, also
there's
they had
such a
it's a 2 episode
yeah,
premiere. So in
yeah,
terms of like the minutes and viewership, you people are sitting down, they're gonna watch the first 2
yep.
episodes. And we saw boom and then boom. And the lack of transparency goes, and it's not just Disney, it goes everywhere, the lack of
Yeah.
transparency. And it really reminds me if people are like
And
college
Nielsen is
football
just
fans.
in the US. What about
Yep.
what's going on worldwide too? It's like we don't have
Mhm.
any metrics for that. So yeah,
If
there's so
anyone's for
much.
like US college football fans, it reminds me so much of like the transfer portal that's going on right now, where it's basically you have like these year to year contracts for college players with no salary cap, and no one knows where the money is completely coming from. It's unlimited pool. As long as you have the money, you're able to push it in there, but there is no just giant transparency. I can see how much this person's making. I can see how much this kid is making. It's all what they want to release. It's all what is made available to the public, and it's just a chaotic, madhouse with no rules. And I think that's what we're getting into here with streaming, is where we don't really know how many people are watching different shows. We don't know how much money is being shelved in different ways for some of these shows,
Yep.
and we also don't know if what we're going to have on the streaming platform is going to stay there for the future. There isn't any. I remember the best part of shows sometimes is like I knew I was going to be getting season 2 ahead of time, or I could look ahead to this, and I would know sometimes before if I was watching something if this was gonna happen. Now it's week to week it could change with everything, and I'm just curious to see what the end game for all of this is. But we'll see. And then Manslayer is saying here that Manny Jacinto said we could come back and he'll be at Celebration Japan. I think
Yeah.
that was more of a you never know, like we could come back.
For any Acolyte people in the chat, I hate to say it. The only way the Acolyte makes a comeback is if it does something like Suits did, where it gets just a massive resurgence on Disney Plus, and it forces them into making a season 2. If it stays off trending charts worldwide, it's never going to happen, guys. I'm sorry. If the books next year do gangbusters on top of all that, maybe. I don't know, but there's still hope, but it's time to start letting go. I'm sorry on that front.
It's
But
sad. It's it's
it's
sad.
sad. It's sad, but at the same time, it's like if they get rid of the Acolyte on Disney Plus, then all hope is for sure dead. And yeah, and that would suck way much, and that would suck way more because no one could find this show again.
And there is some. Yeah, it's a sad situation all the way around, because
it sucks.
you don't have. It's not like with Mando. At least they've released. Obviously Mando's never going anywhere. It's too big. But they did release physical hard copies. Of season 1 of The Mandalorian. So if you bought that, you would have that. But they don't do that for everything anymore. You can't just go buy the season of whatever show you want now. It's you have to, or you are beholden to these companies in a way, and you're not able to. And it's not like it's with all the time on like cable TV. If I'm like scrolling the channels, I can find like old reruns of some of shows like The Office, or Friends. Old Star Trek episodes might be running on like the Sci-Fi Network or anything. But that doesn't happen for the new shows that come out anymore, for the most part, that are strictly streaming based, because they are only found on these platforms. And if you don't have the subscription to that platform, and if that company decides they no longer want it on their platform, boom, you're just done. And I think more so than even the fans, I hate that for anyone involved in a project. Like, it makes me feel like if I was going to work and I didn't know that what I was doing was going to matter in 6 months, like that would be like a devastating, feeling. If I went to school every day teaching kids and I was like, it doesn't matter because they're somehow gonna not remember anything we talked about all year, or they're just gonna, every single kid's gonna fail their test or something, then it's like, what are we doing here? But we'll see what happens.
I don't know the half of this story, but like the Batgirl movie was like completely shot and made, and they just shelved it and didn't release it. So I think that's the case with that. And
there's a lot more context, but yeah,
exactly.
essentially,
So
yeah.
I don't know all the context, but there's just things like that I hear also, that it's like the streaming and current state of things are just very poor, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And this is an interesting comment from Manslayer, and then we'll get into Skeleton Crew episode 3. He says, with little content, there's too much laser focused judgment on every project. And I do agree in a sense that because, you get your 1 or 2 shows a year from Star Wars, that everyone is going to be hyper focused because it's the week by week analysis, and everyone's going to hyper analyze the week because now everyone has their shows, everyone's talking about it, everyone has their articles, everyone has social media, and everyone's going to give their shot by shot analysis of every single episode. But I also don't think you have the budget for these Star Wars shows, and they just drop 4 of them a year. I think the larger problem
Shows
for
are going to
Disney Plus,
cannibalize each other. You can't do that.
the problem is, what is Disney Plus going to do outside of Marvel, outside of Star Wars? Like, where are we going to start actually trying to develop, new
Well, they are.
ideas?
They are.
And sticking with them.
There's new
too.
stuff on Disney Plus all the time. I mean, we have Percy Jackson. There's all kinds of new Disney animation stuff that's always being uploaded. The problem is it's not seen as premium content, and that's what drives subscribers.
Right.
That's the stuff that brings people in. And the only and yeah, to your point, the only thing Disney Plus has is Star Wars and Marvel. That is all they got, and I don't know if they can change that. Obviously, next year they'll have Hulu, which will bring in that has Alien Earth coming. But
yes, that's big.
Yeah, but who knows what a viewership that's going to do, because the movies don't necessarily bring in hundreds of millions of dollars. I think Alien Romulus only did 150 million in the box office, which is very good for an Alien movie, but that's not.
I feel like that's like you're gonna have your cult following that might be really interested in that. So, what about? Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the Hulu show that they're making a season 2 of? But I don't know if they should be making a season 2 of. But it was so but maybe the best show of the year.
Shogun?
I'm blanking. Shogun. Yes. You got shows like that. So I think if you can start associating different things like that with the Disney brand, that would help as well.
Oh, they definitely do. I mean, Hulu is a Disney brand. Even before the big merger, I mean, Disney was propping up a bunch of Hulu stuff. So, and the thing is we don't necessarily consider them as a combined brand.
Exactly.
So, but Disney does. So I mean, there's that. But we the streamers only view Disney Plus as Disney Plus. So
exactly.
But and then
we'll see.
And Manslayer has a question about animation. Again, I don't necessarily know if animation drives subscribers, because what are the big animated shows and other streamers? I know, what is there? Arcane is pretty big. Invincible's pretty big. Beyond that, what is there?
I'm not a big animation guy outside of Star Wars animation, so I really couldn't tell you, like, in terms of what's driving. I know some people that watch Arcane and Invincible. I don't know.
The Bad Batch never really brought in a huge audience for Star Wars.
Brought me in.
Oh yeah.
It
brought us in, but did it bring in a wide audience?
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely an audience
Young
for
Jedi
animation.
Adventures.
Premium content.
We're talking about
definitely
four
animation.
Emmys, 4-time Emmy nominated show.
Animation, but animation also, but high quality animation.
Raxlow
Arguably takes longer to produce than live action. You got to remember that too. Animation takes a long time.
I think next year is going to be a massive year for Star Wars animation, because they're going to have their brand new show. I think they're going to do some sort of Tales of Jedi. There's going to be a lot that comes out next year for animation in Star Wars, just because I think that there's less, we only have Andor coming out next year in terms of live action shows. So I think they're going to just kind of give you some more niche, big animation projects next year and little shorts here and there.
There's probably something.
Vision Season 3. probably
Yeah,
next year
Visions.
you'll have a new show, and then I
Again,
think they'll probably
Visions
do
isn't going to
another
bring in
limited
subscribers.
series. Right. No.
The question is obviously if they're able to pump out more content, that's how Disney Plus would be able to sustain viewers like Netflix. It's just I don't know if they have the ability to do that because I don't know. I don't know. They have yet to prove they can, and who knows if it's worth doing for them because again,
it might not because they're churning profits now.
Yeah, exactly, and it all comes back to what does Bob Iger's bottom line looks like, and what does he want? Does he want to go the Netflix route and be not in the green for a decade like Netflix was until they finally turned a profit for the first time? Does he want that? Obviously not, because otherwise he would go the Netflix route and churn out all of this content. So, I don't know.
It'd be fun to monitor, but let's go ahead and get into it. Let's have some fun. Let's have a good time because we are going to talk Skeleton Crew episode 3. And every time I put this up and I see Rhoda right there, like for the episode review, is so good. I just love that guy. But let's get into it. Highs and lows for the episode. Give me your high. Luke, let's go ahead. We're going to start on the positive notes. You're the positivity guy, so give me your high for episode 3 of Skeleton Crew.
I'm gonna say my high was watching Jod use the Force, and the kids kind of, there's some of them that are in awe, there's some of them that are very skeptical. So I liked seeing how the Force was known to Wim but unknown to some other kids, and they're split on their reaction to his Jedi-like abilities. I liked that plot line going through the episode. That was my high. Okay.
All right. I love that high. Jod using the Force was fun. And the kids being skeptical, but Wim just being all in. Like, I just loved every aspect of the interactions between Jod and the kids. Jude Law and the kids is just fantastic. Nate, your high for the episode.
My high. The moment that popped me the most is the payoff to the escape sequence at the spaceport. They're trying to escape, but what did Jod call it? The very stable fuel line or whatever.
Yes, he just said,
yeah.
He said that's a very well put together fuel line. He said, well assembled or something. So
what a great line. What a great line. Very funny. So they're caught on that and they go into hyperdrive still attached, and watching that fuel line just destroy everything in the background was so funny. And I love this character, Brutus, just watching the wreckage just come straight toward him. He doesn't flinch. What a absolute menace that dude is. I want more of that character. So that was my high of the moment, just because that was such an entertaining sequence. That was just a fun
I laughed out loud
sequence
with the stable fuel line or whatever it is he says. That was so funny just because he's going around, he's wrapping it around other ships, he's trying to get it off, and he's like, this is well put together.
The editing probably could have been a little bit tighter. It kind of didn't go as fast as I think the episode wanted to. So I think that probably would be my low, is the pacing of the episode was kind of a bit all over the place at points. But that's such a minor nitpick as well, because it kind of needed that balance going from great big action sequence to the second half of the episode that was very story and lore based. So it kind of needed that balance as well.
My high was the backwards nature of Wim and Fern shooting at X-Wings, and the fact that we're used to, people shooting down TIE fighters and, TIE interceptors, whatever. And you have these kids going up to shoot, and Fern is like, wait, what? And then, but Wim, whenever he hops in, he's like, oh, Jod didn't even say hop in and shoot or whatever. Wim just jumped in. He's laughing. He's like, let's go. And he's like, yes. And he's just firing away at the X-Wings. Not a care in his, mind that he might be, killing someone if he hits, too much. He's just like playing his adventure out. And I just love the fact that I'm cheering for these kids to shoot down some X-Wings, which we know in Star Wars, the X-Wings are quote unquote the good guys, even though the New Republic sucks, but still they're the X-Wings. They're the good guys. And it was so funny. And it just gave me like really strong, like Ezra Sabine vibes almost, of if they were like even younger than they are in Rebels, if they were just hopping on and doing some shooting. Like that was my shot when Wim says, I got him. And and Fern goes, that was my shot or something. So I love that part. That was my high, just because I was sitting there and I thought to myself, I don't think I've ever cheered for a child or for anyone shooting at an X-Wing. I don't think I've ever cheered for an X-Wing to get
That might be a
shot down.
first.
But I was laughing as I'm watching Wim just absolutely enjoying and soaking up every moment of that. If the fuel line part would have been my other. I think if I hadn't have seen in the trailer the part where Jod was telling Neil to take the wheel, basically take the helm, that might have been the high, just because it was still funny watching it happen. But we had already seen
payoff
like
wasn't as good watching him fly. They could have done more with the actual trying to watch him figure out how to pilot on the fly. So, but the actual moment was fun.
And so Nate shared the low was the editing. Was a little bit, my other minor pick, minor nitpick, because it was another really fun episode. But Luke, do you have a low? It doesn't have to be from an editing or story perspective. It could just be like, you know what, this character sucks, so I don't like him very much right now.
I can go with like kind of on the same line of editing. Like, I think I wish Jod would have got SM-33 on the ship with the rest of the kids, so we could have spent a little less time at Borgo and a little bit more time with Kim, because I really liked her whole observatory with all this info and lore stuff there. And that's who I am. I really like the lore of Star Wars, so I wanted to spend more time there, so I wanted to maybe get off of Port Borgo a little faster than we did. But I still liked it. But that was kind of my thing. Like, I wanted to all right, I know they're gonna get off. Let's go.
Let's go. Come on.
See, that's funny. I was kind of the opposite. Like, I just loved every second of the escape sequence from Port Borgo.
Oh, it was lovely. It was lovely.
And then the fact that they got on and then Jude had to go back. I keep saying Jude. Jod had to go back and get it. He doesn't want to. And they're like, I thought Jedi don't leave people behind. We're not going anywhere without him. He's like, all right.
Well, technically, it's a droid, not a person.
And then Alfred Molina voicing the. I just couldn't help but, hearing the power of the sun in the palm of my hands. Like when he has Chad, like, I have the power of Captain Silvo in the palm of my hand. But no, that whole sequence to me was great. I loved watching him have to evade. Like, I could have stayed there the whole episode and been fine. As much as I love the lore stuff too, and it was really fun. But my favorite, if I had just gotten the episode of the escape and that was it, maybe a few days later, maybe today, I'm sitting here going, yeah, maybe we should have moved on. But in the moment, I think I would have been even just okay with it. But my low for me is I saw this meme this week and it just really hit home with me. And that's how I felt when I was watching Wim's dad. And it was the meme was of the ship going and Wim was yelling, Dad, help, we're flying, we're getting taken away. And Wim's dad goes, Wim, you're making me late for work. And instead of giving a freaking care in the world about Wim. And so like the droids come in and you have KB's moms and you have Fern's mom arguing with the droids and Wim's dad's just like, and you know what? I don't think he was upset. He's just thinking about his job as an ALS. He's like, dang it. I'm late for work again. Like, no, I want to see, come on, Dad, stand up. Fight some droids. Like, you got to take matters into your own hands.
He was asking questions, though. He was trying to get to the bottom of what was going on.
What was he doing? He said, "But these are our kids. What are we gonna do?"
He was asking about trying to contact the Republic and all that stuff. Like, he was trying to get to the bottom of what was going on.
He's a weenie. He's a weenie.
He was better this episode than the previous episode.
I need him to step up. I think he's gonna step up. I think he's gonna step up. He's going to have a moment. But until then, he's Weenie Hut Jr.
I think his arc is going to be getting a message out to the kids that basically give them the coordinates back to Ad. I think that's what's going to end up happening. And I think at the same time, the kids are probably going to find out at least kind of how to get back to the planet. So it's got to get a match in that.
So
yeah,
go ahead.
He's going to be instrumental in working with Undersecretary Farah to get the kids back home. He's going to be half of the equation the kids are doing.
See, I need way more from that character. I didn't feel anything for that character this episode. If anything, Fern's mom needs to step up and stop being so lackadaisical about the situation.
Carrie Condon can do whatever Carrie Condon wants. She will never have a complaint from me. She gets the benefit of the doubt from me for a while. You know what? She's the undersecretary. She has a lot of responsibilities and roles. She's probably good at this.
Stop it, Mr. Teacher. You're just trying to defend the people of the industry.
She does seem like she trusts this system completely, so I think this will break that
way too much.
So yeah.
The adults know something is up. They just don't want to break the system. They know at least a little bit about what Aden's all about, is the impression that I got from watching that opening scene. They just don't want to do anything about it. So hopefully this is what kind of like forces them to just get out of this cycle.
Who would have thought this show would be the place where we get the Old Republic lore? Who would have thought? Because it seems like they're going all in with the Old Republic lore aspect of the show. Like they laid it all out there on the map. This is one of the crown jewels of the Old Republic. All of them were destroyed. That's why this was hidden away. And we're going to get more of that as the show goes on.
It's a great backdoor pilot into whatever they have planned for the era. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have, because they have to have ideas for the Old Republic if they're finally talking about it.
Right.
And obviously that could just simply be, James Mangold's going to have a movie coming out in 2027 or whatever it is. And we're going to have the Old Republic there. So I don't know.
What do you think crown jewel? We got time to theorize again. What do you think? And this is fun. We haven't really had a lot of theorizing in Star Wars, for a while. And so, what does crown jewel mean? Like, what is it about Ad-Aten that makes it so special? What's it going to be? There was a few comments on YouTube this week of people sharing their wild death stick infused force theories. In Discord we were talking about it, but it's. I think we all agree it's not going to be some sort of like tangible treasure, like, credits upon credits upon credits. It's going to be something a little bit more mystique driven, perhaps, than that. But do we have any ideas?
I can throw out one.
Go crazy.
And I guess it goes against what your last sentence was, but I was going to say maybe pulling from thin air, these crown jewels of the Old Republic were like the core 9 planets that like had every resource that they distributed out to the rest of the Republic. And so maybe this Ad-Aten held all of the money center before it was like Munilinst that had the banking stuff. So like maybe they have like all of the money that used to exist in the system. And so that's why there is a treasure trove unbeknownst to even the current day residents. And so there's a legend about how there's this massive store of money there. So I don't know, maybe the other planets had the what do they call it? It's not steel, but it's like, other materials that you would use to build or food or something. So I'm kind of curious what they're going to do with the Old Republic section of the timeline so that maybe it could fit into where, not like directly, but like maybe there was an enemy in the Old Republic that was destroying these planets because they wanted to destabilize everything. And Ad-Aten decided, oh no, we'll hide away. So that's kind of my theory. They were one of the 9 like planets that kept everything going. So
okay, that's a theory. My theory is that Ad-Aten destroyed the other crown jewels of the Old Republic, because they were like, we no longer want to have to compete with the other crown jewels. We are going to wipe out the other crown jewels, take from them whatever we can, consolidate it here, and then isolate ourselves from the rest of the galaxy and make it seem like this was a choice that was made. And so, like, you can almost see the way what you call it, the way that is it Krim, the owl Krim, Kim, the way Kim was saying it is almost as if there were a lot of people involved, like outside of At-Aten. They were like, we want to hide At-Aten away because everything's being destroyed. I wonder if this was just purely At-Aten, and we are gonna see this story where the supervisor or whatever is carrying the legacy of, we have destroyed the other crown jewels, consolidated everything for ourselves, and the supervisor is someone that's been pulling the strings galactic wide to keep At-Aten hidden, but consolidating a lot of that for themselves even.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nate, what do we got?
I kind of, my big question is not necessarily is what's going on with the rest of the planets. What happened to them? But another thing that I've started to really think hard about is the ship, the Onyx Cinder. What was it doing on the planet? And
Great question.
What's going on with SM-33? Because twice now he has said, can't say I remember no At-Aten. Was he programmed to say that? And if so, who? Why? What's going on? Did someone try to escape 1,000 years before, but he was stopped and was and SM-33 was programmed to say that as a failsafe? Has the ship been there for thousands and thousands of years, hence why it runs so poorly? I don't know. I'm curious about this ship. I'm most curious about this ship at the moment and what its story is in all of this. I think there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what yet. So
were they the pirates? Were they people hired by the supervisor, the people that are in charge to go take out the others?
Who is the supervisor? Is it a droid? What's going on with that? Because obviously the supervisor is probably going to end up being the big villain of the show. What's going on with that?
Could it be like a Loki situation where the timekeepers are not real and the timekeepers are just something created by
I don't know if Star Wars would go that route, but
Miss Marvel, right? Where like,
well, it was Miss Minutes was there, but well, oh my gosh, but Kang like created the timekeepers to kind of keep everyone. Is the supervisor something? Some other is a third party mechanism of keeping control over At-Aten, because it seems like no one has access to the supervisor except for these droids are just carrying out the commands of the supervisor. And if there was someone that really didn't want to be involved but wanted to establish a system of order, it would be clear to just be like, you go through the supervisor, and then we have like a Wizard of Oz situation on our hands.
Those droids in the first episode, they were like almost monitoring those woods. Obviously they're looking for the kids that were not at school, but they were like just in that general vicinity,
right?
And they almost got to Wim when he was at the ship almost too quickly. So I have to wonder, like, what's going on with this ship? What's its story? Because there's something there, and I think that would be an interesting angle to go.
I love it. I also love the barrier and like how that plays.
Yeah,
in.
like
there's all this stuff that plays together.
What's the barrier?
I'm so curious about.
And is there something
they're learning about Coruscant and Alderaan and all these things, but they have no idea that Alderaan has been destroyed. They have no idea what the situation is in the galaxy.
I'm curious as what the adults know versus what the kids know, because obviously the kids don't really know anything. But to me, unless they're being very cute with the dialogue, the adults, I feel like the adults know that they're being hidden from the rest of the galaxy for some reason. So they kind of have an idea of what's going on out there. It's just a question of,
or do they not? And it's a matter of they're just from the system has told them, don't question anything. You stay hidden because we're just keeping you safe, and this is how we protect the planet. This is how we keep everyone safe here on AT-AT. This is how we adhere to the rules of the supervisor. We don't cross the barrier. We don't want anything coming in from the barrier because we here are safe. This is what we do. And they just continue to assume that the Jedi are out there keeping them safe, or the Republic is looking after them, but they haven't had access to any of that for years. They just assume that is correct. But I'm fascinated to know even what I want to learn more about what their thoughts on the galaxy are. Like, what do they think is happening right now? Because how much information do they know? If they don't think Alderaan, they don't know Alderaan's been destroyed, how far back could we go at this point? Does that make sense, Luke? Like, how far back is this? Is it because if it's like the old Republic, crown jewel of the old Republic, and then towards the end of the old Republic, is this the end of the old Republic, and maybe as we venture into more of a high Republic era that they are secluded, or is this even early old Republic era and the Sith Jedi civil war is going on, and could that have been playing a role in their seclusion? There's so many, just depending on what part of like the timeline it could be, because it's the old Republic. It's definitely before the High Republic. My Manslayer. My point was just, is this towards the end of the old Republic to the point where the High Republic is about to begin, shortly after? Like, is it towards the end of that era that it was?
I really like that theory. I think that could be pretty plausible. If this is maybe like 1,000 years BBY. Hey, welcome back, Nate.
I'm getting too close to the sun. Then I'm AT-AT's watching me now.
The supervisor disconnected your server from our chat.
I have no idea what happened there.
I'm thinking
maybe it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that this hiding of AT-AT is part of a larger like event that happened in the galaxy that kind of like ended the era known as the Old Republic. It's kind of my theory as well. Maybe I'll wrap that in.
Do you think that this is like we'll leave with this today, because I think this is going to be a very self-contained story. It's going to be very fun, just a nice little laid-back story. It takes place during this like Mando timeline, and I'm wondering, is that purposeful? Like, is anything that happens in this season going to be referenced or hinted at or play any part of the future of this era in streaming and on film? Because we have essentially 3 that we know of. They could always do more projects, but we have 3 projects left in this era of the timeline, in the Mando and Grogu movie in 26, and then Ahsoka season 2 later that year, and then presumably the Filoni movie to finish everything up. Is anything with AT-AT and anything going on in the story, you think anything of this whole treasure, whatever is at store or at play here, the supervisor, do you think any of that will pay dividends in one of the major, probably the more, major things going on in this timeline? Or do you think we're just going to keep it here, have some fun, and let loose?
I think AT-AT is going to be contained to the Skeleton Crew show. I think there's going to be some other element to this that will carry on and add to the grander story of the, what do they call it? Mando. We call it the Mandoverse. I don't know I forget what they call it. But this story going on at like 9 ABY that everything seems to be happening in. So I want to be insane and be like, the supervisor is Thrawn, or it's just some crazy thing to like pull it in like just abruptly into the story, but I think that AT-AT is going to be pretty self-contained to Skeleton Crew, and I like that. I think you can do cool things without having to make it draw into other. It's probably better for the concept of AT-AT, really.
I agree. I think that's probably where we're going to end up for sure. Nate, are you on that same wavelength? Or
generally, yeah. I'd have to pull it up, but I could have swore a few years back when the show was announced that Favreau kind of hinted at some elements of this show being featured in other shows and vice versa. We've gotten the vice versa with Vane already. I think I think the odds are in Skeleton Crew's favor that something from this show will end up being relevant. But yeah, I do think that this will be a self-contained adventure. And I hope it does remain self-contained, but it's Star Wars and they're fleshing out something original at this point. So we'll see. I mean, there's going to be familiar elements for sure as the show goes on. It's just, yeah, we shall see.
Well, another wonderful show, guys. Thanks for hopping on. Always good to talk about Skeleton Crew and everything else that happens in the Star Wars universe. Make sure you tune in this weekend for the Star Wars Timeline Show, episode 37, from Luke and I, talking about season 2, episodes 1 and 2 of Young Jedi Adventures. You can check us out every Thursday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time here for Star Wars News Net Live. Next week, we'll be coming with you for episode 4 of Skeleton Crew. Everything else that comes in between. I will be gone for the next, maybe the next 2 weeks. I will be gone next week for sure. And, I might be able to make something work the 26th, but I am TBD on the 26th. But we'll have to see. But I think I'll be gone the next 2 Thursday nights, gents. But I hope that you guys can hold the fort down for me while I'm gone. But thanks for hopping on. Any last words, Luke? Anything you want to leave us with?
I did go double check you. You are indeed correct. Episode 37 of the timeline is coming out this weekend. So looking forward to it. We got a lot of good stuff going on here at Star Wars Newsnet.
Nate, anything you'd like to leave us with?
If you decide to go see Craven this weekend, may God have mercy on your soul.
I'm going to go see War of the Rohirrim, I think, instead. Saturday afternoon.
Great choice.
That's if I
tomorrow, hopefully.
That's if I'm alive Saturday afternoon. It's if I'm alive Saturday afternoon.
Why would you?
I'm getting up like 4. I'm getting up at 4 a.m. to help with a Christmas service project for like kids, which is really fun. It's gonna be a really good event. I'm really excited to be there. So my friends and I are going. Some of my students are volunteering. It's gonna be like a fun time. But it's at 4. It's from like 4:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning. So I might just be crashed out on all afternoon Saturday. We'll see.
Get a coffee with your popcorn.
I might need to, because I really want to see War of the Rohirrim and check that out. And then of course I got to go get revved up to see Mufasa here. Probably not next weekend because I'll be in New York for the week, but Mufasa definitely on the following week. We'll have to get my Lion King popcorn bucket and have a grand old time. Probably won't have a Monday pod this week again, unfortunately. Hopefully once the new year gets here, we'll be able to do that. But I got a couple fun chats in the works. I will say that. So everyone, looking forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks for hopping on this evening. Orlando Magic News. I have no idea who you are. You'll have to let me know. Anyway, all right. For Light and Life, everyone, remember, everyone, even if you are a part of AT-ATN, we are all the Republic.